Hurricane Francine rapidly intensified to a Category 2 storm just before it made landfall last September, bringing major rain and wind damage to the metro area. This hurricane season, state and local officials say they want to make sure that residents are prepared for any sudden changes that are in the forecast. This morning, we are joined by Terrebonne Parish's President Jason Bergeron to discuss preparations there. Also, some information for an aid program for those still dealing with the effects of Francine. Mr. Bergeron, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us so early here.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
You know, let's pick up where we started with Hurricane Francine. We were all here. You were working around the clock, as was your staff, when that Category 2 storm made landfall. How did Terrebonne Parish fare considering the storm directly made landfall there?
We had about 17 properties damaged, and of those, 17 completely destroyed. So what I tell people is, in that situation, it was very similar to some people that didn't experience that for Ida experienced it for Francine. So, we definitely tried to do everything we could to make sure we're protected, we're resilient, but through that, you still have damages.
Yeah, most definitely. Officials did talk about the fact that it wasn't as bad as it could have been. Senator Kennedy, and among others, touting the success of the Morganza to the Gulf Hurricane Protection System there. Also calling on FEMA to reduce insurance rates for folks there because there is a solid mitigation plan, at least through this. Curious as to your thoughts there.
Well, I can tell you that Francine, the storm surge of Francine bumped up right against the top of the levee in the south part of Terrebonne Parish. But by having that levee system, it's estimated, and we got letters from the state that said we saved FEMA $1.7 billion with the work that we've done by taxing ourselves to build our own levee system.
Now, you say for those who are still cleaning up after Francine, there is some aid that's still available. Can you talk about that?
Yes, the Restore LA program is the program that's going to happen. Sometimes the money goes to the state, sometimes it comes to the parishes. In this situation, the state's using the Restore program, and that's going to close out on June 30th with them taking the surveys and applications. So if those residents needed assistance to rebuild or repair, that's the program to get it through, and that's going to close on the 30th.
Sure thing. You know, you live Terrebonne Parish. You know what you need to do in order to be hurricane ready. What do you want to make sure your residents know in order to be prepared this busy hurricane season as it's forecast?
The warning that we heed the most is that, we only had about 50% of our residents evacuate for Ida. And when you don't evacuate, you put yourselves, your family, and our first responders in harm's way. So we want to make sure that everybody is evacuating if needed. We're going to protect the property. We're not going to close the parish. We make sure we don't have looters in here doing anything. But we want to make sure our residents are safe, and especially those that maybe need electricity. People rely on things like a generator, but what if that generator fails and you need to have electricity to have an oxygen machine running? So in those situations where people can't be without electricity or can't be without any services, we recommend they evacuate, get safe, and then come back after the storm passes.
Staying with that idea of evacuation, sir, in the event that folks do need to get out, just want to get the latest as we have you on the Dulac Pontoon Bridge. I know that emergency declaration remains in effect, trying to get those repairs sooner rather than later after that tugboat hit it last month. Where do things stand there?
We're about 4 months out on repairs, and we're just plugging away on it. With anything, weather delays, if we get any kind of storms come through, that could delay it even further. But that's why we declared the emergency, because we knew it was important to get it repaired and back in service as soon as possible.
Any concerns considering that it does fall on a major evacuation route?
Yeah, you always have those concerns, and that's where we go to make sure we have the conversation earlier, sooner rather than later, and making sure that our residents know when it comes to getting out, we got to take that into account. And that's why we try to make sure we push out as much information as we can as soon as we know. But as we've seen as of late, it seems like these storms flare up in 2-3 days and they're on top of you before you know it. So that's why we tell people, prepare and get ready as much as you can now. And that way it's less to deal with whenever the storms actually hit.
Very important. Jason Bergeron, Parish President, thank you so much there for offering your time here. Always willing to pick up the phone and fill us in on what you know. We do greatly appreciate you.
Thank you for sharing the information.
Of course, and you can keep up with hurricane season coverage and other major weather alerts in real time on WWLTV.com with WWL Louisiana's free mobile app and the WWL TV Plus app. Of course, we will continue to provide the latest updates and tips on how to be ready Very important, and it's at your fingertips. Also available now on WWL Plus is our new hurricane season special for 2025. You can learn more about how AI is improving forecasts faster than ever before. Also, other great things that you need to know about being ready. You can download the app and watch on your TV for free.